Why are you running for steering committee?
I want DSA to be an organization that builds street power for the working class, meaning I want DSA to be a mass party for the working class, a fighting force for the working class. Historically, all the victories that we've gained as working people have been through shutting down parts of society, whether that's through strikes, whether that's through Dr. King's civil rights movement, whether that's through port strikes like we saw after Occupy. Everything that we've ever gotten has been through struggle. That includes electoral struggle, but electoral struggle by itself isn't enough. And in order to have electoral struggle that is accountable to us, we need to have the streets. And the only way that we're going to have the streets is if we increase membership engagement to the broad masses in East Bay DSA. That means including the people on the corner selling drugs, that means including sex workers, that means including the unemployed, that means including the imprisoned, that means including everybody who would stand to see a better world without capitalism. And that's the world I want to fight for, and that's the world I'm committed to fighting for. And I will join in with anybody. I don't care what your ideology is, what your history is, or where you're going, as long as you want to be in that fight.
So you've said democracy is important to you, and that the lack of it can lead to cliques. Could you elaborate on that?
Democracy to me, in a broad socialist movement that is Big Tent, means the ability to have open, comradely debate without fear of being cut out of the conversation through procedural means. What that looks like is what I love about DSA. At DSA Socials, you can have an anarchist and a Trotskyist and a Maoist and a liberal and a Bernie bro all sitting at the same table, drinking a beer and having a conversation about the types of ideas that we need to develop. The left has been lost in the wilderness ever since 1989, and the only way we're going to get out of that is through action and developing the new ideas that come out of that action. As Engels said, an ounce of action is worth a ton of ideas.
So there's been this broad stroke painting everyone outside Red and Roses, especially anyone trying to connect to street politics, as being an advocate of identity politics. Do you agree with that characterization?
So as somebody who is brown, as somebody who is a trans person, as somebody who is very much working class, I know that identity plays a huge role in our coming to politics and how we engage in politics. And I also know that I need to work with all of the working class, because the working class is the only force historically that can create the types of changes that we need. I'm a Marxist at the end of the day. What that means is I, like the history of Marxists before me, believe that the working class, not as an identity, but as a social force that is produced between relationships of capital and workers, is what will mobilize to overthrow the system that we currently live in.
This term non-reformist reforms thrown about, does the term non-reformist reform make sense to you, and what does it mean to you?
A non-reformist reform sounds like doublespeak to me. A non-reformist reform should just be called a reform. We don't need to create new terms for reforms when we know that historically reforms have been very good for the working class when they have been accountable to working people's struggles. The types of reforms that we are not looking for as socialists, that we shouldn't be fighting for, are those ones that are completely mediated through the electoral system, that are completely mediated through the capitalists and the machinery, whether that's the nonprofit industrial complex, the Democrats, or even Bernie Sanders himself. As a comrade once said to me, Malcolm X could become the president of the United States, and it would still be the United States. What that means is that when we're fighting for reforms, we need reforms that can increase our militancy as the working class and give us the types of victories that we need to actually build towards socialism in our lifetimes.